Jim Carrey, From Homeless to Hollywood. Humble beginnings in Canada, 1962, 1978. Jim Carrey was born on January 17, 1962, in Newmarket, Ontario, Canada. His father, Percy Carey, was a jazz saxophonist who had to give up his dream and work as an accountant. His mother, Kathleen, battled constant pain and depression. From early on, Jim knew what it meant to struggle. They weren't just poor, they were barely surviving. When Jim was just 14, his father lost his job. The family had no money, no home. They were forced to live in a van parked on a relative's lawn. Jim and his brother took night shifts as janitors at a tire factory, cleaning toilets and scrubbing floors. He still went to school during the day, exhausted, embarrassed, but determined. Even as a teen, Jim had a wild imagination. He'd spend hours in front of a mirror, perfecting impressions. He mimicked celebrities, contorted his face, and made people laugh. But this wasn't just for fun. Comedy was his shield against the pain. Dreams on stage. The first stand-up attempts, 1979, 1983. At age 15, Jim took the stage at a Toronto comedy club called Yuck Yucks. He bombed badly. The audience booed. He forgot his material. He went home and cried. But Jim didn't give up. He came back over and over again. His father, who believed in him, drove him to gigs, encouraged him, and helped him polish his act. Slowly, Jim started gaining a reputation in Canada's comedy scene for his spot-on impressions and rubbery face. By 19, he dropped out of school, left home, and made the boldest decision of his life. He moved to Los Angeles with no money, no backup plan, and one goal: make it in Hollywood. Rejection, survival, and the $10 million check. 1983, 1989. Hollywood didn't welcome Jim with open arms. He took any gig he could find, opening acts, minor film roles, background parts on TV. He starred in The Duck Factory, Once Bitten, Peggy Sue Got Married, but nothing stuck. Casting directors laughed at him, not because he was funny, but because they thought he was too strange, too intense, too much. Broken, Jim did something radical. He sat on Mulholland Drive, pulled out a check, and wrote, Jim Carrey, $10 million for acting services rendered. Dated Thanksgiving, 1995. He placed it in his wallet. It wasn't just a fantasy, it was a declaration. In living color, The Turning Point, 1990 and 1994. In 1990, Jim finally got a break on a sketch comedy show called In Living Color. He was the only white guy in the cast, but he quickly became the most talked about member. As Fire Marshal Bill, he was chaotic, insane, and hilarious. Audiences couldn't believe what they were seeing. A man who bent his face, twisted his body, and screamed with joy. Jim's confidence soared. He was finally being seen not just as a clown, but as a force of nature. The explosion. 1994. Jim takes over the world. Then came the year that changed everything. 1994. Jim Carrey starred in 3 major films, and each one became a box office smash. 1. Ace Ventura. Pet Detective. Critics hated it. Audiences loved it. Jim's absurd detective character was unlike anything seen before. $107 million box office. The Mask, a shy man turns into a green-faced superhero with unlimited cartoon powers. Jim's physical acting was finally exactly what the world wanted. $351 million worldwide. Golden Globe nomination. Dumb and Dumber, a road trip with Jeff Daniels that became a comedy classic. It grossed $247 million globally. And guess what? For Dumb and Dumber, Jim was paid $10 million, the exact amount he had written on his check years ago. He had manifested his dream. The broke janitor from Ontario had just become the biggest comedy star on the planet. 6. The Hollywood Kingmaster of Comedy, 1995, 1998. With 3 global hits behind him, Jim was now unstoppable. Batman Forever, 1995. Played the Riddler in a dazzling, high-energy role. Liar, Liar, 1997. A lawyer forced to tell the truth for 24 hours. Made over $300 million. The Truman Show, 1998. A massive shift. Jim played a man unknowingly living in a reality TV show. The film was a critical masterpiece. Jim won his first Golden Globe. No one could deny it anymore. Jim Carrey wasn't just funny, he was brilliant. Going deeper. Art, Pain, and Identity. 1999, 2008. In 1999, Jim starred in Man on the Moon. playing eccentric comedian Andy Kaufman. He didn't just act the role, he became Andy, refusing to break character even off set. He won his second Golden Globe for it. But behind the fame, Jim was changing. Fame wasn't everything. He struggled with depression, heartbreak, and the weight of expectation. He began exploring spirituality, painting, and writing. In the early 2000s, he starred in Me, Myself, Irene, Bruce Almighty, where he literally played a man who gets God's powers, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, 2004, a raw, emotional performance that showed his deepest acting layers. Critics now saw Jim not just as a comedian, but as an actor of depth, power, and pain. The Retreat, Fame, Isolation, and Art, 2009 to 2017. After years in the spotlight, Jim stepped back from Hollywood. He lost his ex-girlfriend to suicide. He faced lawsuits, scandals, and tabloid rumors. He questioned his identity. Jim started painting vividly, passionately. His art became his therapy, his way of speaking without words. In interviews, he spoke about ego, truth, and letting go of fame. I used to be a guy who was trying to become famous. Now I just want to be true. A New Era Comeback Legacy, 2018-2023. In 2020, Jim made a surprise return in Sonic the Hedgehog playing Dr. Robotnik. Audiences were thrilled. It was the classic Jim Bold, animated, hilarious. The film made over $300 million, and the sequel followed in 2022. He also released a book, Memoirs and Misinformation, a fictional take on fame, identity, and apocalypse. Jim said he was probably retiring, but fans remain hopeful. Jim Carrey today. The man behind the face. Today, Jim Carrey is many things. A painter, a spiritual seeker, a former king of comedy. A man who lost everything and found himself. He taught the world that you can dream while you're poor, you can laugh through the pain, and you can reach the stars without losing your soul. From janitor to van dweller to $10 million paychecks to global icon, Jim Carrey's journey is proof that madness, passion, and belief can move mountains. Don't let anything stand in your way. Not rejection, not fear, not even reality. Because Jim Carrey didn't just become famous, he became unforgettable. Tell me in the comments, is Jim Carrey your favorite actor?